Free agency at 6 p.m. Why you 76ers fans should not have your hopes up. All that and more in this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. His name is Keith Pompey, longtime 76ers beat writer. My name is Marc Barzetta, longtime Philly sports talker with you. We're going to talk about who the Sixers are going to land in free agency, again, 6 p.m. today. We're going to talk about the Ben Simmons fallout, the Ben Simmons reaction from you amazing people, and we're also going to talk about the free agency expectations. But first, Keith, I'm a bald man wearing a black shirt in front of a black background. Do I look like a floating head? Do I look like a floating head?
Nah, you look good.
Am I okay?
Yeah, you look great. I actually like that black T-shirt.
Oh,
kind of gangster.
Thank you. Appreciate that. For the people on the podcast, I just think I look like a floating head. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I know it's the most cliche thing in the world. And we'll name names. We'll talk about who the Sixers could get, who they're linked to, and all that for free agency. But it shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic, Keith. Like I don't get a sense of excitement. I just get a sense of, okay, let's see who's going to come in here next, and depend on the health of Joel Embiid and Paul George, and the continued improvement of Tyrese Maxey. Another step forward for VJ Edgecombe and whatever LeBaron Philon Jr. could be. I just feel like, all right, who's the next person to come in here and disappoint us? That's what I feel like. Who's going to be the next person in the Sixers sidecar of injury and age? That's what it feels like ahead of free agency.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the difference is that this person, in years past, well, even last year wasn't really a lot, you know what I mean? But before that, it was always, who are the Sixers going to get to pair with Joel Embiid? And before it was Ben Simmons, then it's Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey to be a difference maker. Well, I think that, when we look at the 76ers now, because of, like you said, the decks of the Titanic, based off of their contracts with Joel Embiid and Paul George, is really like, what are they going to do, right? Now, what it seems like they really want to go after a power forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, when you look at these guys available, it's not like is a perennial all-star that's coming. They're getting someone who kind of fills a need and someone who can take that mid-level, exception for them, right? But at the same time, you're right. It's really not doing much for me. And the one guy we talked about yesterday was John Collins, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that, has been targeted to the Sixers, a guy that they're going to go after. But the Orlando Magic and the San Antonio Spurs are going after him as well, or projected to go after him. So you have to ask yourself a question. The Orlando Magic, a nice young team with a lot of excitement, and the San Antonio Spurs, where they're like one legitimate power forward away from probably winning the championship, right? Because they made it to the championship. So you have to ask yourself, are the 76ers that enticing for him to turn down those type of opportunities?
Mm-hmm. I'll ask, and I'll say no. And that's part of it. There's just better options out there, more reliable teammates out there, more reliable front offices. You're also coming in here. Mike Gansey has never had this position that he's had now, even with Bob Myers overlooking it all. You might look at Bob Myers and go, oh, I could come here and I'd essentially be working under Bob Myers or working for a team that Bob Myers is helping put together. Well, Mike Gansey's there. You might like Jameer Nelson. You might like his relationships and all that stuff. But you're still looking at really staring down the barrel of Joel Embiid's injury status that he's had throughout his career, knees and otherwise. Paul George's age, needing to get his knee scoped in the offseason last year, getting a 25-game suspension this year. You've asked the question. I'm sure if you're asking the questions, players are asking the questions as well. Why was he really taking that PED? Why was it masking something else? What's really going on there? And then do you want to it could be a thing for other people. As great as it is to see the improvement of VJ Edgecombe, the continued improvement of Tyrese Maxey, and seeing what Phylon will be in the NBA, you might not want to be there to hold the hand of guys that are trying to get better. You want to come into a more proven commodity, and the Sixers, unfortunately, are nowhere near that. There's better options out there, teams that might have more money to throw your way as well. It's not an enticing situation here in Philadelphia. And I'll set the expectations at this. I'll tell you mine, and you can tell me yours. My feeling is that after free agency, when it's all said and done, and even you look at Summer League or you look at preseason and everyone reporting to camp, my expectation is the Sixers are going to walk away with, at best, the reaction from fans of, okay, well, he's a nice piece.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be no move that makes you go, this is exactly, they got it. Like, there's no one out there that I look at right now in free agency and go, oh, that's the guy they got to get, because that's the game changer for them. Anyone in that ilk is way out of their price range anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Anyone in there is outside their price range. But it seems like the guys who they have or guys who have been linked to them, possibly linked to them, and are Collins, Dean Wade, and Rui Hachimura, like they're the names that keep coming up. And then there's a guy by the name of Sandro. I don't want to butcher his last name, but he was a backup center for the Toronto Raptors, right? So his name keeps coming up. But he opted out, like I said, of a $2.8 million contract. So, yeah, I mean, you could give him 3, right? Or something like that. But here's my thing about the Dean Wade thing. The thing about the Dean Wade, he's linked to the 76ers in part because of Mike Gansey was the general manager there. But Dean Wade's a guy who, he's a player, he's kind of, remember, he could do a little bit of things, but he's more of like that glue guy that you have when you have stars, right? That's what he was, basically when he was, playing for Cleveland. But the question you have is, if you have Paul George, who, like we said, he had to use the performance enhancements last year. He's still talking about he has to get back to his old self. I mean, he's going on year 3 and he's still saying, I have to get back to my old self. So is Dean Wade really going to help you? I mean, he's a great fit if you have other guys in that position or other position that you can depend on. He's great when he plays with all-stars. But at the same time, if Paul George is struggling and if Joel Embiid can't get on the floor, and then there's so much pressure on Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, are you looking at Dean and saying, hey, bro, can you give us 28 tonight? Can you help out in that way? So that's the question you have to ask. And then when it comes to Rui, it's like, he seems like he fit in well with the Lakers last year. So, my thing is, if he comes back here, if he comes back east and plays for the Sixers, is he going to make a difference? I mean, I like him, but, I just felt like he was a perfect fit for the Lakers last year for the role. Maybe he wants a bigger role. Maybe it's all about the money, but, I just don't see it right now. I just don't.
Right. Now, the other part, we'll get into the mid-level exception and all that stuff coming up as well, and what that would mean for Quentin Grimes and Kelly Oubre. I know we've talked about it. Also, I want to get a couple of comments in here because some of the comments are fantastic. We'll get to that when we come back. This is Locked On 76ers and Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. Back after this. And right now, it's time to tell you about FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here. Every match feels like it has a potential for a memorable moment. One goal can completely change the energy of a game, shift momentum, and alter the outcome in an instant. That's what makes tournament soccer so exciting, from the opening whistle to the final kick. And now FanDuel is giving fans another reason to stay locked into every match with every goal pays. Bet on a match, get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals means more bonus bets. All you got to do is turn on your token on FanDuel. That's why I love these tournaments. Every goal can shift it. Suddenly, one goal changes everything, and the tension builds so quickly. There was a goal disallowed because of what, goalie interference yesterday for the Germans. Sorry, Germany. I think it was Uruguay that ended up winning that with Paraguay. One of the Guays. Anyway, FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. From the opening whistle to the final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started right now. That's FanDuel.com. And how about the Everydayer Club? Get your daily Locked On 76ers fix completely ad-free by joining the Everydayer Club today. Start your 7-day free trial now and get closer to your team without the interruptions. Click the link in the show notes or go to lockedon76ers.supercast.com for your free trial. All right, a couple of these comments, Keith, are fantastic. Let me just say, Mr. Sandman says black T-shirt means Farzi shoots dice in front of a corner store in North Philly. Note the North Philly, Norf.
Yeah, he should have said down North Philly. That's what he said. Down North. Down North. It's like, what's up, Mr. Sandman?
What's the line from A Bronx Tale? I want a 2-2 on a hard 4 and a hard 7. A 2-2 on a hard 4 and a 7. Something like that. I forget the line. Anyway, I've never shot dice.
Saying
also,
I want a 2-2, hot 4 and a 7. I just realized the way you said it. I knew
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. I was trying to. Yeah, I just know Cologino says it in Bronx Tale when he's playing with Sonny in the basement. Put him in a bathroom. Anyway, what do we got here? Philly saying, Mark, on paper, the Sixers have a good starting lineup. That is true, but that paper is ripped, tattered, and crimpled. You know what I mean? And I also like this from Worldwide Mandia. So this strategy is essentially competitive teardown, not tanking, but not really competing. Yeah, kind of. Except for, to Phil's point earlier, I believe it's the Sixers looking at it saying, all right, how do we stay around the 45 win mark with the idea that Joel Embiid is probably not going to play half the season. Paul George is going to have his ebbs and flows. You're still bringing along VJ Edgecombe, who I think is going to be great and all that. Phylon Jr., obviously, they're banking a lot on to run the second unit, I think, at this point. Yeah, they're just looking at it a way to be around the 45 win mark. That's what free agency means to the Sixers right now. That's what the offseason means to the Sixers right now, is find a way to stay around 45 wins and hover around the 7, 8 play-in tournament, hover around that realm. That's what I think this free agency period is about. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, I would say that. But I will also say, if they could get John Collins, I think that would be a big get for him. I mean, I honestly do. The only concern that I have about John Collins is that he's been on. Well, I mean, he's been on several teams already. Like, he goes from Atlanta, then he's on Utah, the Clippers, this and that, and but at the same time, I do think that with all things considered, because we're talking about a team that doesn't have any money, can't make a lot of options, a lot of moves, and then you can get like a fringe all-star type of player. When he was in his prime, he was that way. I feel like with all things considered, that would be a good get for the Sixers. You know what I mean? But
absolutely,
it doesn't solve the problem or the major questions. It doesn't answer the questions. Questions are: is Joel Embiid going to be healthy enough, and is Paul George going to be good enough? Right. So that's the major problems right there and there.
Yeah, you know what it is. I'll put it like this. So we used the deck chairs in the Titanic analogy earlier. I'll say this: it puts you next in line for a lifeboat on the Titanic. That's what I'll. That's what I'll say. You're not on it. You're not. The women and children are still getting on, and you're like, oh, is there room? Is there one more? That's what it is. That's what it is. If you get John Collins, I gotta say this, Keith, I'm shocked. So yesterday we talked about Ben Simmons and his comments about maybe I'll go back to Philly, to Men's Health magazine. Also, it's the first time I ever blurred anything on our YouTube channel, I blurred out the cursing because that's not good for the kids. You know what I mean? But that was later. That was a post-production thing. When Ben Simmons says maybe Philly, it definitely raises my eyebrows. But what I'm very surprised by is how many people would take Ben Simmons back in Philadelphia. Now, you and I said you get him on a minimum. He shows that he's healthy. And all right, let's see what he's got. That type of thing. But I'm in no way, shape, or form expecting the Ben Simmons that was making all-star teams doing everything but shooting for the Sixers. I'm not expecting the entitlement to come along with it. I am surprised, though, given the history, people are looking at it saying, well, now you're talking about potentially a power forward that'll play defense and grab rebounds and maybe in certain situations gets that rebound and all of a sudden you have an instant push offensively. I'm surprised, Keith, that so many people are like, all right, yeah, I'd give Ben Simmons another shot.
Yeah.
Are you at all surprised?
Yeah, I'm surprised at that as well. I mean, you think about it, like, what was it, during the season last year? People like, they need to pick up Ben Simmons. We need a power forward, right?
Yeah.
So I'm shocked. But maybe it's a sign of how far the Sixers have dropped in a way too. Like, meaning, before it's like we're looking at it and we're seeing these guys and they're not living up to it. And you need a rebounder. So right now it's like, oh, let's go get Ben back. And people forget, like, he was public enemy number one, when he left here. Like, everyone hated him. But now they're looking at this roster and they're saying, what do we need? We need a forward. We need a forward. We need bench help. But the thing is, if, like we talked about that, if you can get Ben Simmons for that and fulfill that role, then maybe it might work, right? And if not, you're not losing anything. But do we actually think that he really wants to come here and just be a role player? You know what I mean? That's the problem. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, he might want to do that initially, but then after a while, he's going to want to be more of the guy. Maybe, I mean, I could be wrong with that, but you would assume that a guy who still thinks should be in his prime, a guy who had a lot of success besides shooting the ball, is what want to go back to running the floor. Because why does he want to come back to Philly? He had his best basketball in Philly. In Philly, he was an all-star. In Philly, he was loved. He was the guy. Then you go to Brooklyn. The grass isn't always greener, right? You go there, you're saying you're going to form a big three. And then all of a sudden, those two guys went out. And then all of a sudden, you're coming off the bench and you're not getting minutes down the stretch of games. Or you're racking up DNPs. So then you go to the Clippers for a little bit and, you're just a role player, So he wants to come back because guess what? He was the man in Philly. And he thinks that he could, I don't know if he thinks he could be the man again, but sometimes you need to, you want to go back to where you had the success. That's what it is. So that's my concern. But they need a point guard, but I don't know if he's a point guard anymore. I'm unfortunately, I don't know if he's a point guard. Yeah,
you're talking about a 30-year-old with a back injury? Like those don't go. Yeah, like I would doubt if he's still a point guard. Like, some people debated whether or not he was ever a point guard, right? I thought he was a point guard. I mean, he was a point guard like Tobias Harris was a power forward. Like, there wasn't a lot of power involved in that. You know what I mean? He was a facilitator, certainly, and he was great at it. If he can get you that rebound and instant push, then I'm all for it. But it all depends on how healthy he is. And if his back's not healthy, then he's not even going to be worth the minimum. I honestly think that through the last year, Ben understands the situation that he's in now. I think he understands that he has to prove it. Like, notice what he said. Coaches aren't saying, you got a spot here. They're saying, if you're healthy and you can do the things you used to do, then yeah, we're going to have you back on the court. There's going to be a spot for you. But those are two ginormous ifs. And I do believe that it's been humbling for him to go through the experience that he's been going through. And I'm not saying like, oh, woe is Ben Simmons or anything like that where we all feel bad for him. I'm just saying he was away from the game. He's put over $200 million in his back pocket throughout the course of his career, he can choose to just go fishing and live life and have a great time. He doesn't have look, I don't know the financial situation for him now, but I would assume he doesn't have to play basketball again, but he could really want to play. And if he gets that prove it type of, like, for instance, the Clippers gave him around $750,000. That's what it was to play. You know, it wasn't a lot. And obviously he was still coming off the $177 million that the Sixers signed him to, and the Nets bought him out for, and all that. But if he looks at this as an opportunity to get back in the league, and he tries out, and you see him work out, and he looks healthy, and he's a power forward that can give you push possibly after, then hell yeah, get your rebounds, play defense, all that. Then hell yeah, it's worth rolling the dice on. He's exactly what the Sixers need right now. And I think part of the reason isn't to what you said. I agree that the Sixers have fallen, but at the same time, so is Ben Simmons. And I think the spot that he could be in for the Sixers on a minimum would be a great spot for him to be in. And if he's better than that, and he thinks he's better than that, all right, see you later. You took a flyer on him. And that means if he thinks he's better than that, then this upcoming season, the Sixers got a phenomenal bargain in what Ben Simmons could bring back to the table for them.
I agree. The only thing is, though, you know, right now we got to be, you know, all these articles are coming out right about now on the eve of free agency, right? And the only thing I think of is, like, I think whoever signs Ben has to have a serious conversation with him, right? Yeah. I mean, deep conversation. And you got to have some people in the room who can recognize BS, right? Just to see how sincere he is, right? Because the only thing I'm thinking about is, and thank God we don't have these videos, but I'm thinking about each summer, we always had videos of him in the gym dominating and showing his shooting, right? And then when the season would come, he didn't do any of that, right? So to me is like, look, I'm a fan of Ben Simmons. I have the utmost respect for him. But to me, the concern is, yes, you say you want to come in the league. You're saying that you have changed. You're saying all these other things, and we're doing these. People are doing these stories on you. But we've seen this before with the videos. It wasn't articles, it was videos. And then once the season came, you still didn't shoot. You didn't do anything. So to me, is this just for PR, or have you really changed? And that's the question.
Yeah, the first question I'd ask, and again, with my BS meter on, fully charged, do you love basketball? Or do you love what basketball brings you? Because Ben, first go around, I don't think there was any doubt he loved what basketball brought him.
It's the latter.
Yeah.
You think he loved basketball, or he loved what basketball brought him?
No, he loved what basketball brought him.
Yeah, it brought him. And you're right. And the thing is, here's the deal about Ben Simmons, and we're talking about it. You know, I know, like, the back issue. Before, when he didn't shoot before, and it did kind of cost him in the playoffs, right? The whole nine, we get that.
Sure.
But beforehand, you know, he was like 6'10", can get one of the fastest guys in the league. He could do a lot of other different things. And then when he lost some of that athleticism, because he didn't work on his shot, he was limited in what you can do for him. And he was also someone that you couldn't keep on the floor in late minute situations, right? So he has to prove, like, you know, more so, like, the mental aspect is major, but, you know, him being a fisherman is great. I commend him for that, right? But that ain't helping him on the basketball court. Like, I want to see, is his free throw shooting better? You know, I want to see this and that. And in order to find that out, he has to get a non-guaranteed deal, right? Where you bring him into camp and you put him in certain situations. Aside from that, it's kind of like, you know, is a big gamble. Like, it's a big gamble. You have to protect yourself when it comes to him.
No, I agree. See, that's the thing. I'm not gambling on Ben Simmons. I need Ben Simmons to prove who he is. And that's why, like, when we talk about it, we're not talking about, give him a 4-year deal. No, we're take a look. It's worth, here's the way I'll say it. It's worth kicking the tires over. That's what I think. Especially when you talk about the position of need for the Sixers. It's worth kicking the tires. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm looking for.
Yep.
All right, when we come back, who you think they get? 6 p.m. tonight, Keith. Free agency opens up. I know, the excitement. The excitement. All right, when we come back, a quick blink of a break, back right after this. Who they get? Who the Sixers going to sign?
Was quick. Yeah, that was quick because I was thinking.
Yeah. Look, there's all the names in the world are out there, obviously.
Okay, I think they're going to get.
Who you getting?
Trendon Watford. You're going to make more money. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess.
Folks, that's the season. All right, we'll see you guys next year.
Nah, that's Tyrese Maxey's boy. He's
his second best friend, Keith.
Yeah, his second best friend. I think he got hurt. I don't know. That's a good one. Like, that's a good one, man. Is it?
It's not going to be John Collins. It's not going to be him.
It's not going to be John Collins. What about Dean Wade?
I mean, Dean Wade inside track, but that's I would put that as far more. I'm going to say John Collins will not be a 76er. I'll look forward. What time did I say that? 26 minutes, 10 seconds. I'll look forward to clipping that when he does sign with the Sixers and just playing it to make myself look stupid. Dean Wade has a far better chance, but I think it's going to be even more so under the radar. Not John Collins, but a center from Atlanta with the Hawks. Lockdale, I think, has a opportunity and, quite frankly, likelihood to sign with the 76ers. I saw his name thrown out there, linked to the Sixers, but I think it was hoopshype.com. Had him out there, and I just went, he's exactly what I think the Sixers are going to sign. Someone that just looks good in a uniform, can be in the right spot at the right time defensively, get your rebounds, backup center, not going to be an outrageous amount of money. That's where I think they're going to end up landing. Then I also saw DeAnthony Melton's name out there for like $3 million, another 6'2" guard potentially coming off the bench. Not that you have a limit on how many smaller guards you have, but that's a possibility. It's going to be underwhelming. I wish I could say something exciting, but there's not a lot of excitement, unfortunately. So
and
that's the name I'll go with.
Here's the thing about Dean Wade, right? You look at him and you say, he's averaged 5.8 points, 4.2 rebounds, and 1 assist while shooting 36.2% from three over his career, right? Well, I get no, excuse me. This was last season. Last season, he's a 36.7% shooter. So you look at those stats, and you're like, but they're saying the Lakers are really interested in him, right? The Lakers are really interested. So it's kind of like, you look at Rui Hachimura, see what happens, and Dean Wade could probably be someone that ends up there. So, you have to ask yourself, who do you feel like is closer to winning a title? Is it going to be the Lakers or is it going to be the 76ers? So, I don't know. Like, it just seems like to me, I don't think the Lakers are about to win a title, but, it playing for the Lakers right now over the Sixers might seem like a preferred destination, you know what I mean, when it comes down to the two. But so it just seems like a lot of these guys are getting interest from other teams. And sometimes I hate to say it, I hate it. I hope that the interest or the information that people are saying about them with the Sixers is legit. And it maybe, or are they doing that to drive up the price for other teams? Right. Because the Sixers have $15 million that they can give out, right? Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where, are you using that to make sure the Lakers give you 17 or something like that? You know what I mean? So
another BS meter for another reason.
Yeah.
His name is Keith Pompey. My name is Marc Farzetta. If the Sixers do something huge, maybe we'll touch base later today after 6 p.m. We'll cross our fingers for that. But as of right now, again, the best case scenario, they're next in line for a lifeboat on the Titanic. That's what I'll roll out there. Thank you for watching Keith Pompey. Thank you for watching me, the floating head, today. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Be back with you guys tomorrow. Make sure you like and subscribe. Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. And also, Make sure you guys check out Locked On 76ers Everydayer Club. If you ever miss an episode, Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On 76ers ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to LockedOn76ers.supercast.com to make sure you guys check it out. Also, those of you on video, we send you over to the first ever 24/7 national NBA YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you guys check out Second Listen NBA Game Night on the Locked On NBA podcast. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Back with you guys tomorrow. See you then. Bye.